Pirate baseball coming off the doubleheader sweep and sweep of Wichita State, plus that epic game in Colonial Williamsburg last week. And Cliff Godwin joins us here. Steve and I go Patrick Johnson with you as we talk Pirate baseball, as we do on Mondays during the season with Coach. Cliff, congratulations. Nice week for the team. And boy, it all started with a kind of a record game in many respects, and a lengthy game where you guys had to thwart off a really game-winning Mary team several times before getting the victory.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been a part of a game like that before. 5.5 hours, really hard to get strikes called. I think we struck out 22 guys, and only one was struck out looking. So that's probably a record of some capacity, but the message, to our guys was, yeah, it wasn't pretty, but our guys just continued to fight. I think that was the things you saw on Saturday as well, getting behind twice, obviously one time 7-0. Our guys just continue to show grit and fight and determination. And we had Bible study this morning, and we always go around and talk about one thing we're thankful for. I'm thankful that our guys don't panic when we get down, and they have a lot of confidence, and they just go about their business and go up there and win pitches. And for us to be able to respond with 5 runs with 2 outs in that inning, the third inning, that was the game in my opinion, because then Wichita State was like, oh my goodness, like they're right back in it.
It's never ideal to fall behind, especially by a lot of runs. But there is something about this team that they seem pretty comfortable playing in close games, or even having to play in a come-from-behind fashion. Why is that?
Well, I think it comes from our leadership group, of course. I think they instill a lot of confidence in other guys on our team. I think the hard work we put in the fall, Carter Cunningham mentioned that. I had a text from Kurt Morgan this morning and goes, Saturday, that's why you do all the hard stuff in the fall, is because of games like Saturday and you fall behind. And you just have a bunch of determined individuals and a team that just goes, hey, man, we've been through a lot of hard stuff in the fall, and we can handle this. And that's the thing that, makes me proud to be the leader of this organization, is that they show toughness, they show fight, even when, some teams might just say, hey, man, it's not our day, and just lose the game.
Cliff, going back to Tuesday's game, have you ever seen a strike zone that tight? And then how do you handle it kind of like after the game with the pitchers, and make sure it doesn't, affect their confidence because they're throwing strikes maybe that aren't called strikes?
Yeah, it's tough to see exactly where the pitches are when you're in the third base dugout. We obviously knew that there were some close pitches that we felt like we should have gotten. If you ever see J-Dub grab his mask, kind of, but J-Dub does it very subtly so the umpire doesn't get showed up. But if he does that, then J-Dub said that means it's a strike. If he touches his chest protector to us, that means it was off the plate a little bit. So J-Dub grabbed his mask a lot during that game. But the umpire was extremely nice. So I guess that's one of the reasons I didn't get thrown out. But no, I didn't know how. The 3-2 Shinkman pitch, and look, nobody's perfect, but we've all been out there at that point in time, probably over 3 hours, and he throws a slider, a 3-2 count that would have ended the game. I just don't know how we missed that pitch. But other than that, it is the game of baseball, and you can't control those types of things. So you just go out there and continue to scrap and claw. And of course, it came down to the last pitch for us to be able to win that game. But getting guys out there in those situations when you're forced to, like Corey Costello, Eric Ritchie again, Parker Thomas, and others in those crucial moments. Our hand was kind of forced because everybody else had pitched. Well, that's just going to pay dividends down the road. DiLorenzo, too, he threw 2 innings and was 1 strike away from us, I think, winning it in the 11th, and he just hit a guy with the bases loaded. So the more we can get those guys out there, it's going to benefit us down the road.
Cliff, I do want to commend you, too. I feel like that would have been a game in the earlier part of your coaching career. Maybe you get ejected. And hey, to this point, no ejections for Cliff Godwin. And, 3 reviews in the top of the first in the game 3 of the Wichita State series. It was just kind of a crazy week.
It was 2. It was 2 because I only get 2.
Okay.
I also, got warned in game 1. And initially the crew chief told me, who had third base, he goes, that was unsportsmanlike conduct, so you can't come back out here anymore. I said, I've never heard this. So if I want to ask a question, I can't come out the dugout. Who do I send out there? Like, what are we talking about? And then he talked to the home plate umpire, and so it's just a warning. So you can still come out and talk, but you can't, chirp anything else. And I was like, all right, cool. So I survived that.
I'm proud of you, Cliff. Keep it going, man.
Hey, you should be. I mean, look, we've been how many games? Almost 40 games. I've been thrown out once. So this might have been the longest track record of my career. So I'm in uncharted waters, PJ.
We'll knock on wood to keep it going for you.
Yeah. It's all good.
I do want to ask you, Coach, just Friday's game. Trey Savage, man, is just absolute lights out, 15 Ks. Just watching that from the dugout, what was, I don't know, your biggest takeaway from watching Trey?
Well, AK came in the dugout, right before Trey's going to take the mound, and he goes, hey, man, he's juiced up tonight. And I just didn't put two and two together. AK normally doesn't say, hey, anybody looks great or they're bad. We just go about our business the same way each game. But for him to say that, it just kind of, I was like, okay. But I didn't think about last year, he was dealing with that arm soreness, and with all the travel issues we had, the first game was on Saturday, so he had an extra day's rest. But, Trey probably wasn't as honest with us about how his arm felt, but he goes out there in the first inning against Wichita, and I think his best fastball might have gusted 92, and it was cold, and he didn't strike out anybody and give up 2 runs. And I go, AK, we got to take him out of the game. He's not right, and we're not going to risk that. So we set him down. So I'm sure that was in the back of Trey's mind, which I did not put 2 and 2 together until after the game. But, man, he was special. And when he knew that our bullpen was thin, he just went out there and said, hey, man, you're not going to score runs off me. And, JC and I talked about it, but he should have made that play in the outfield. He gives up 1 run at the most and goes 7 innings and punches out 15. But the first 6 innings is the dominant performances I've ever watched at Clark LeClaire Stadium.
We're talking Pirate baseball with Coach Cliff Godwin. The other thing, and you noted this, and if you think back on it, I think your point of he approaches it like a closer. Whenever there's traffic, whenever there's runners on, it seems like Savage gets that much better and gets that much more dialed in and tougher.
Yeah, if you get to second and third base and there's traffic, especially in scoring position, he turns it up a notch and he becomes a closer for that inning, which is special. You can't teach that. That's internal competitive nature, and Trey's got that.
Ethan Norby continues his really run here of some special weeks over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and he's developing into that proverbial Swiss Army knife for you.
He sure is. The plan wasn't for him to have to close out the game on Friday, of course, but he was one of the only guys that did not pitch on Tuesday, and so we knew they had a bunch of lefties in the lineup, and Norby's really good against lefties, but we wanted to win the game. That was the most important thing. So he goes out there and, he looks the part. It's not just that he's having success, but he's gotten his confidence back from earlier in the season. And man, he's filling up the strike zone with 2 really good pitches, and his location is good. And he's been definitely a spark plug for us coming out of that bullpen.
To sweep a doubleheader, Coach, got to have a lot of guys step up, and definitely y'all did that on Saturday. And several players off the bench, several relievers as well. Just maybe highlight some of those guys a little bit.
Yeah, looking at their third starter, his splits were a little bit, when I say they were better versus right-handed hitters didn't hit him as good. So, after Bristol ran into the wall, and then there was a play in left field that I thought that normally he makes the catch. And just with all those things, I just thought it was best to get him out of the game and put Clonch in the game. And Clonch, man, had an awesome day, of course, and he's just been a great teammate and a great leader in our locker room. So super proud to be able to see him do that. And then, to start the game, Nowak was in the DH spot because I felt like Nowak was a good matchup, and Nowak's practices and his BPs have been a lot more like they were a year ago. He's more in the middle of the field, and actually his first 2 at-bats, he hit balls hard, just had a little bit too much height of air underneath him. And then his third at-bat, he had a single, and I thought he played well. I thought everybody out of the bullpen, went to Jaden Winter early. He got an inning. I think Aaron Groller was right after him too. Jake Hunter got an inning. And then I can't remember who came in after him.
It was Kaler at that point.
Kaler looked unbelievable. in the seventh, and then we had a long inning offensively, and I think that kind of affected him a little bit. And then we had to go to Shinkman, and then Shinkman did Shink. So, gets bases loaded, no outs, and then doesn't give up a run. So he's special, of course, to have at the back end of that game.
Huge week for Joey Berini. He has the game time hit at William & Mary, which feels like it was like 3 years ago now. But also had the home runs, coach, big home runs in both of the games this weekend to really change both those games. Just how good was it to see Joey hit those clutch at bats, which we've seen plenty in the past?
I don't get on Igo's message board, but I'm sure there's been people that have questioned why Joey isn't swinging the bat well. And I wish people just understood like what he went through with his wrist, having a broken bone. I mean, when you start messing with wrists, fingers, hands, and you're a hitter, it throws you off. And early in the season, he wasn't 100%. And then as we got a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks into the season, he started feeling better. Well, now his bat speed's picking up. So now he's not having to start his swing as early. But he had a little bit of a funk when he was feeling better because he wasn't letting the ball travel enough because his bat speed was coming back. And I knew Joey. He's hit his whole life. He's been one of the most clutch hitters to ever play at this place, even when he was a pinch hitter. And he does have pull side power. And if you throw him a fastball in the right spot, he can get to it. And, he was able to do that twice, of course, on Saturday in 2 different games. But I really thought the second one, I'm sure they thought we were bunting and, we were swinging away. And he crushed that ball. It was awesome.
Yeah, I was going to ask, Coach, it seems like a potential bunting situation. And I know you guys have bunted with JC earlier in the game. So were you thinking about that at all, or was it you just felt like the fastball was a good matchup maybe for that?
Well, you had three different innings that scenario presented itself. So I think we went first and second in the first inning with JC up. We didn't bunt, didn't score. And then I think it was in the third that we had it again, and I bunted him, and then Dixon lined out to shortstop, which was a good swing. You just hit it right at somebody, and Dixon did what he was supposed to do. It just was right at the shortstop. So we didn't score that inning. And I don't know why I didn't bunt Joey Berini, but I just had a gut feeling that, hey, Joey's going to get to this heater. Did I think he would hit a home run? I didn't know that, of course, but just had a good feeling about it. And Joey made me look like a really smart man, which I appreciate.
We're talking ECU baseball. Cliff Godwin joining Steve and Igo and myself here. Riley Johnson is got a hit streak that's now up to 12 games. He scored a run in, I think 10 of those is what I was looking at this morning. But it seems like he's all over the place. He's making plays in the outfield. I don't think anybody's playing as sterling a defensive center field in the conference, maybe even in college baseball, than he is right now. And just continues to be the table setter that you need him to be for this Pirate lineup.
Yeah, I see Coach Forbes' stuff all the time on Vance Honeycutt. I know Vance Honeycutt is a really, really talented player and hits home runs and stuff. But for ECU baseball, Riley Johnson, in my opinion, is our MVP. And Carter Cunningham's having a great year. But what he brings to the table defensively, what he brings to the table offensively, and just puts pressure on the defenses, what he does to get his body ready. He's our MVP because he makes everybody else on the team better. And I appreciate that. And he is tough as nails, which is awesome. I mean, how many people in the country lay out, make a dive and catch, the shoulder dislocates, and the trainer and the coach run out there, and he's like, hey, coach, just give me a minute. I just got to move my shoulder around to get it back in there. And I definitely can play defense, but we'll see about swinging, and then we just run off the field. I mean, and he's just been such a spark plug for us all year.
Cliff, with Bristol Carter, he had that entanglement. He's okay though.
He is. He's feeling good. So, you'll see Bristol back out there for sure. So he just banged his knee into the fence, I guess, which I couldn't see the play live because our dugout's shut out. But that's what he said. And, of course, he was sore that night, but it's gotten better as the weekend's gone on.
You'd talked to us on one of the 18 shows we were doing with you on Mondays, it seemed, last week.
No doubleheader. No doubleheader
today.
Awesome.
No doubleheader today. And you talked about then you thought the position players were a little tired and kind of challenged them. And then you made, I guess, a statement to the effect at some point over the weekend, too, It might have been heading into the doubleheader, you thought. But the point is, they seem to react and were they a little more the position guys into it, you felt like, in games 2 and 3?
No, I did. I mean, specifically, I spoke to JC after Friday night's game, and I said, "Hey, man, like, you make that play if we're playing Carolina or State, so that's not being totally engaged and having life in your body." And he said, "Coach, what does that look like?" I said, "Well, when you're sprinting around and you're making plays in the outfield, that means when JC's at his best and our team's at his best, when it looks like you're dragging 50 pounds of weight behind you, that does not look like the guy with energy that can be a spark plug for us." And I thought JC played with as much energy as anybody on our team on Saturday in both games. And I was super proud of him because going into Saturday, I had told him, I said, "Hey, man, if you look like that, you're not going to play right field both games. So I can tell you that you might DH, but you're not going to play right field because we got to have some energy on the field." And he was awesome. And I'm sure that their bodies were worn down, but we've done a really good job as a staff this year getting our guys off their feet on a lot of opportunities when we've played on Tuesday. It's been a late game, a long game like it was last Tuesday. I mean, they don't even practice on Wednesday. They get treatment and lift weights. So we've done a good job of that. And then we're able to practice with some of the younger guys that are not getting out there on the field as much. So, but I was super proud of our entire position player group, but specifically JC for the energy he brought on Saturday.
Cliff, I believe you guys are now 10-2 without Jacob Starlin in the lineup, but I know you guys clearly want to get him back. Any update on Star at this point?
He's close. I think there would have probably been an outside shot if we'd have played a normal 3-game series that he could have gone on Sunday. The last piece for him, he's swinging pretty much at full speed, but running, he's not full speed running wise yet. So we got to make sure that he's healthy. And it's 2 different injuries really, and not to be too specific with it, but one affects him running more, and one affects him swinging more. Well, the swinging thing is good. Like, we're good with that, but now we've got to be explosive running out of the box, also on defense. And it's very tricky because if we push him too early, then you're talking about, man, he could be set back for another month. And then, man, that's just, not good for him, not good for our team. So we have handled him with gloves a little bit, but he's close. I have not seen him today. I think there's an outside shot he could play tomorrow. I'm not sure if he starts, but he might be able to get in the game tomorrow.
And that game tomorrow with NC State, great game for the Pirates up there in Raleigh a few weeks ago. Got the victory. Real great approach at the plate. Excellent pitching that night. And then NC State comes in, so there's going to be a little extra juice in the building, as you would expect, with the Wolfpack coming to town.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for college baseball. I mean, anytime we play NC State, North Carolina, specifically, our fans come out in droves, which I appreciate. Anytime our guys can play in that kind of atmosphere, it just makes us more prepared for the postseason. And there's no better place than have a place packed than Clark LeClaire Stadium. It's awesome. I said this on social media, but we don't come from behind down 7-0 in game 1 of the doubleheader if our fans don't get into the game. And they get into the game, and you could just see in the dugout, like, Wichita State's feeling the pressure, which is a good thing. So we need Pirate Nation to be in full force tomorrow night.
And then the next conference series will be at Memphis. They had a coaching change in the off season. I don't know how much you've maybe looked ahead to Memphis, perhaps not, but anything you can tell us about the Tigers, just kind of looking at the standings, and anything that you've seen maybe on film by looking at other teams?
I can tell you that their head coach is Matt Reiser. He has coached at Southeastern Louisiana for a long time. They've done a good job. And the pitching coach is married to a girl that graduated from East Carolina. That's what I can tell you about the Memphis Tigers. So,
all right.
Other than that, I'll worry about Memphis probably starting on Thursday a little bit and really get locked in on Friday.
That's a good note for Scooter to have for the broadcast. The pitching coach married to an ECU girl. So that's a good note for Scooter there. All right, Cliff, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Great stuff. Best of luck against the Pack, and then heading on the road